All right. Hello, hello. And a big hey now to everyone. And a bang bang to Vic. Vic Foundation. How about that? First one in the chat. Woo. So happy Sunday, happy Monday. New week starting. A weekly close here in a few hours. Guess we'll see that. Things are moving along. Kind of slow this week on the old post chain. Kind of slow. Oh, bets. I see you. I see you, buddy. All right. So let's go ahead and take a look at some stuff. This is the only stream I think that anybody actually just focuses in on this whole T-Share thing. And yeah, for those of you guys who have been around for a while, you know that it's slow going. T-Share is always going up and to the right in cost in terms of HEX, and moving on up. All right, let's go take a look at some charts over here. We're going to go over to HEX Daily Stats. This guy runs a little bit behind sometimes, but currently showing on the Ethereum 41,610 HEX per T-Share, and on the Pulse chain side just a smidge less at 41,318. According to their data, where they're a little more comprehensiveness in what they do with pulling the liquidity, they're showing 221 million HEX on the Ethereum side in liquidity and 183 million and change HEX on the Pulse chain side. So very small numbers overall, which can promote volatility, both up and down, right? Less liquidity means more volatility with trading. So let's go ahead and take a look here at what we're seeing for activity. Our most active pair is with HEX is the V1 pair with Pulse. 463,000 in volume so far today in the last 24 hours. But it's running faster than Pulse chain. So at a 0.14 ratio of volume to liquidity. And so it's running a little bit faster than the old Pulse chain itself, POS. If we look at EHEX, EHEX is 103,000 in volume, over 600K, running even faster than HEX because it's got smaller liquidity, right? And so that's what ends up happening with that. So primed and ready. I do feel like based on the data that I'm seeing, that we're seeing a little bit lower volumes than normal, kind of bottoming out in my tracked volume at about a third to a quarter, 25% of what I would consider to be normal. Right. What does this mean? It means to me that people aren't taking a lot of actions in either direction. So it's just them, it's just people kind of waiting around to see what shoe drops next and what to do next. Right. So we're just kind of chugging along. So we see that for HEX. Overall, for the HEX pairs, let's see what I have for overall volume for all the ones that I'm tracking. So I see 1.5 million in volume over the last 24 hours. This is according to Dex Screener, and pulling that data in through Dex Screener and looking at the pairs that are out there. So yeah, we're still in a kind of a low. I bet you if we went and pulled up the RSI or something like that, we'd see this thing getting ready to spring upwards. Really, it can go either direction. It can go in the up direction or the down direction, but people would have to sell for it to go down, and for it to go up, they have to buy, right? And so usually when things get quiet like this, something is going to drop at some point. Let's take a quick look at trading view in Bitcoin, just overall health of the market. You can see this is my GRM chart, which is the golden ratio multiplier. According to this, bull in progress. No changes there. We did see the price of Bitcoin come back up. It went down to kiss and test the 350-day moving average, which is that bottom purple line. And this is all part of the pie indicator. and kind of a long time frame as indicated by the 350-day moving average. And like clockwork, right, hit that as support, tested it 2-3 times, and then bounced off of it, came back up, blew through the 111-day moving average, which is the black line. I say blew through because it went through in one try, retested twice. Looks like on one day, let's see, on the 22nd, it blew through it, retested on the 23rd of April and the 24th of April, right? And now it's just been moving upwards and to the right, very consistently. Kind of looks like accumulation to me, and with a slight markup that we had on the 8th of May, and really in a fairly tight pattern on the daily. Right. So what am I looking for in this? I'm looking for the black line to turn up and head towards the 1.6 of the 350-day moving average. And, I think Richard's call is still in play for 240K. I mean, I know a lot of people are on much shorter time frames. Our human mind is hard to manage all this stuff, right? But we clearly on these charts had buy signals come in June of 22, and what if you had done that? That was 17K ish when that had come in. You'd be feeling pretty good about a 5x, I think, on Bitcoin at this point, right? Up and to the right, up and to the right. We look back a little bit further on this chart and just see what we've seen in the past. We see these kinds of buy signals come in on the chart, and then we wait until we see a reversal or a sell candle. It kind of indicates the market's getting a little bit frothy, but I don't think we're anywhere near that yet. Equivalent, we're now in the equivalent of something like August, July of 20. In terms of like a cycle. But, nobody, somebody out there maybe can pick this, but what I'm going to be waiting for is to go kind of take my lead based on whether or not we get reversals or sell indicators, right? It doesn't mean that that's the end of the cycle. I mean, that last sell was in 21, April of 21. And, that would have been, I got to buy this subscription eventually. That would have been a good time to have sold, and you would have gotten a 62K price. And then if you had followed this, you would have been buying back in the 17, 20,000 range, and then followed it back up. But all very long time frame stuff. Now, some of you might be asking, what the hell does this have to do with HEX? Well, Ethereum kind of follows a similar type of a pattern. Yes, we know this time is different. ETFs, blah, 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 right? So ETH hasn't begun to blow up yet. Just a little bit the last week or two, which has been pretty cool. But I see 4,000 in the near future for Ethereum. It might take another 2-3 months. And of course, if that's happening, the alts will be running with Ethereum as that goes on. And so we would be looking for is these types of top signals coming in on Bitcoin, on Ethereum, and kind of dictating, even though everybody's going to be like, nah, it's going to be different this time. Well, it kind of dictate that a month, maybe weeks after, days after, the alts will begin to turn down as well. But we don't see anything like that yet, right? Last time on Bitcoin, we were approaching the yellow line. On this particular chart, the yellow line represented the 5x of the 350-day moving average, and so in terms of diminishing returns, we would be looking for the blue line, a little bit over the blue line, perhaps, or to the blue line this time. And lo and behold, where's the blue line? 240K. How about that, Richard Hart? How about that, Richard Hart? 240K. So that's where it is now. But of course, as time goes by, and the price goes up, these averages go up, and so perhaps we'll be at a much higher number than 240. Don't know. We could see something different happen this time. It could be, I know some people calling for that 500K region or area, and then it could also disappoint, right? Well, it depends on the retail money to come in. and drive that up. And at least in the old days, right? The old days, 3-4 years ago, you would expect a kind of trickle down effect, or a what we would call a flippering effect, from Bitcoin down into Ethereum and the alts. But things are different, right? How different, we don't know. We just don't know. So we will watch, and you should have a plan in place. Write it down. Have an idea what the heck it is you're trying to do. If you're round tripping, that's fine. Round trip. If you're going to, if your idea, whatever token, whatever crypto you're in, that's fine. If that's your strategy, I mean, some people do that, right? I mean, sometimes it's just about the hodl. If you're looking for cycle trading, figure out what you're willing to accept versus lost opportunity cost. Would you be willing to to accept a lower price for your assets in order to secure prices early, and profits early, and always maintain a hodl bag? All right, let's take a look at the chat, see what we got out there. So Lewis, I think we took care of looking at how much is available on both networks. Again, it kind of looks like the 250 million region, but of course that changes daily, right? I mean, momentarily it can change. People buying, people selling, new LP coming up, right? RH Max, good to see you. Iron Horse, thank you for joining in. I appreciate that you love the work. I love the work too. We get to HEX stuff. It's easy to do though, because we can just kind of keep, we're just verifying, hey, listen, the contract does what it does. There's new people. They don't know that it does what it's supposed to do. So they need to see it too, that week over week over week over week, month over month, that it operates the same as it is designed to operate, whether people are faded or not. Right? That's what's happening. All right. And RH Max, I appreciate you, my friend. Effortless Crypto, good to see you. And let's dig into some more data. The truth engine always wins. I started calling my wife the truth engine. She always wins. I thought it was funny. When I said it. All right, let's go to the 30-day and take a look at that. So, we have, I think I've explained this in the past with the OA coming in and staking as heavily as it has tamped down the volatility and how fast the T-Share rate goes up, but it still goes up, right? I mean, these are stakes that have been made a long time in the past that are driving it up, and so we see moderate increase. 200 more HEX per T-share over the next 30 days, roughly, something like that. So very small numbers going out 30 days. Go out to the 60-day. I do think we'll break that 42,000 level, and be close to that on both chains. 42,000 HEX per T-share. That'll be chugging along. 90-day, we see a little bit more of an increase as we get out almost 42.5 on ETH, and definitely over 42 on Pulse chain. And then the 120-day look ahead, we're getting all the way out to September then. And we'll be encroaching on the 43,000 level. And of course, end of year, thinking 45,000 on both chains. Now, all of these are just forecasts of what the numbers could be. They'll likely be really close. I think the take back on all this is, that the T-share rate goes up and to the right. So you're not getting cheaper T-shares later in terms of HEX. It's just not going to happen. It's always going up and to the right. 45,000 by the end of 25 is fairly likely. We could see some shifts in that. Don't know. Maybe it'll be a little less, a little bit more. We look into 27, you can see 45 at the end of 25, going up maybe another 4,000 over 26, and then maybe another 4,000 or 5,000 to the end of 27. So we'll be looking at 54,000 HEX per T-share at the end of 27. Now, why this is super important to us if you are continuing to stake or you plan to stake into the future is this. The rate, even though it has tamped down a little bit, is going up faster than people could earn HEX. Now, by definition, it was always going to do that because the calculation when somebody ends a stake is to take all the HEX that was rewarded plus the principal, and the calculation increases the share rate so that you cannot get the same number of T-shares for the same number of days, even if you were to stake all of your HEX that was earned, as well as the HEX that was in the principal, right? And so by its very nature, that means the T-share rate is going to ratchet up. Now, here's the thing, though, right? I did mention the amount of HEX that was rewarded, right? You heard that. Well, new stakes that are coming online currently are not earning what old stakes earned. Old stakes earned a lot more. And so when we look into the future, going out into all the way out into 2040, by and large, all of these marks on the chart, all of these increases, they are based on the estimate of what the stakes have already earned and what they will earn. And the ones that are making these marks are the old stakes. It's not the new stakes, it's the old stakes, right? All right, so why is that important? Well, what it means is that T-shares have become even more rare. They become even more rare. Now, you may fade HEX staking and you're not going to do it, and you're going to sell tops and buy bottoms and all that. That's fine. But for the stakers, what it means is that you just can't get the same number of T-shares. I mean, it's even like the difficulty's like tripled now, and what's happening is there's a gap between what you earn in HEX and what you can get for T-shares. Now, the old stakers, if they were smart, what they would do is they would be allocating a good portion of their stakes, like i.e. their principal, into new stakes, maybe some of the rewards, and going out longer to get the T-shares. But I'm not convinced they will do that. But if they did, they would maintain a better position. But it'll be difficult for them otherwise, right? And of course, they're going to take profits, and then you're not going to have the HEX. But that just clears the plate, right? So more and more people just won't have HEX to do the T-share staking. All right, so that's what we're looking at. Now let's look at the drawdowns, what we've been seeing for drawdowns. I actually smartened up and did this one in advance, so I don't have to fool around with it on screen. But looking at the last 30 days on the Ethereum side and also on the Pulse Chain side, about 55% of the T-shares that ended on Ethereum were not recreated. So we had 100 T-shares instead of, that ended. Instead of another 100 being created, we only had 45, roughly. All right. So that's what that means. So we're seeing this drawdown in the number of T-shares. Hard to visualize because the OA stakes make such a mark on the overall chart, right, in the spread. And so you see that on the Pulse Chain side, slightly better, but out of every 100, only 53 new T-shares are being created. And that's just because, and the reason I think there's a difference there's just different levels of usage between the two chains, is that more people are doing short staking on the Pulse Chain. I mean, it doesn't seem like they're getting a lot of reward for that, but they are continuing to do that process and save just a little bit less in terms of a downturn in the T-shares. So we're just chugging along. So yeah, that's the drawdown. Let's see what else we want to look at. Oh yeah. Let's go to T-shares expiring into the future. So as we look into the next month, I'm expecting a drawdown in the 50,000 range. So 50,000 T-shares in both chains would disappear and not be around anymore. So that's what I would think. And now, of course, some big whales can come in and create some stuff, right, and do some things. Looking at our T-share counts, we see the big increase over here that occurred back in March. But if we go to 2025 and start it there, you can see we're just doing the normal thing here. As I mentioned, sometimes we see a little bit of a delay in data for this HEX Daily Stats data. This is the source for this one. I didn't go calculate it separately, but you can just see the trend, particularly on the Pulse Chain side, just down and to the right. And so what that's representing are the non-OA stakes that are being ended and or good accounted, and then not being restaked. So at least not to that level. I mean, even if they did restake, they wouldn't keep up with it. But so every day, boom, boom, just a little bit less T-shares, a little bit less T-shares. I mean, they might, there might be some days we see a little pop up, but that would be abnormal at this point. So T-shares are going down to the right. The cost of getting them is going up. And so, yeah, T-shares will just become more and more scarce as we go along. Just more scarce. All right. Just looking at our profile for the Pulse chain, this is what our drawdown looks like here on the Pulse chain. In gold coming down 2040, to the number of T-shares. And then, invariably these will end or whatever, be taken out of circulation. New T-shares at some point will start appearing for the year after. When we take a look at the profile expiring per year, basic shape is still the same. I'm going to exclude this final year. Basic shape is still the same as created by the OA and then people overlaying on it. But we haven't seen significant capitulation at this time on either ETH or on Pulse Chain through emergency end stakes. So that means people are continuing to do their thing and keeping their stuff up and running. All right. So we have that. Let's look at the Quattro Syncos. Just looking at May, so far this month, about 600, 700 T-shares created. Quattro Synco out there, averaging something like 3-4 stakes per day that are Quattro Synco. So that's way down overall. So again, hard conversation to have. I can turn any direction. People tell me you're crazy for staking. You're crazy for staking. All right. Welcome, Pesky Girl. Welcome as a new YouTube member. Good to see you. All right. We're going to see that now. Why do I say it's kind of expected? Hey, listen, we're in a situation where the APR is very low, right? And people don't necessarily believe in price and going up into the right. And then of course in general people lag green candles, right? I mean, a lot of people, some people will be on the bleeding edge and be like, oh, this is an opportunity, and get in. They might even stake. Other people will be like, we need to see a likely, at least in TA terms, likely turnaround point before they'll get interested. And then others are looking for confirmation that we're on our way up, and some will look for double confirmation. But you probably heard this from other people lots of times. What's usually happening with that is the price is going up, right? That's what the green candles are all about. And so if the price is going up, you lose the opportunity for the extra 2-3x that might come out. And that's fine. I mean, that's a strategy too. I mean, you don't have to be the winner of all things all the time, All right, let's take a look at our payouts per T-share versus the counts. Up here in blue, again, the expected drop in T-shares over this time frame. Payout per T-share, so showing it just slowly gravitating upwards and to the right. I'm showing going out almost 15 years, maybe a doubling of the payout per T-share. That could be more, right? We see emergency end stakes. We could see this all change again, but it would require significant emergency end stake by the people involved, whether it's the OA or regular users. So they would really just have to be doing that, and I don't know that we'll see that. Average of all the open stakes, we're still seeing right around the 9-year point. Again, this is a measure that it's important because we need to know. Well, it's good to know how much is locked up for how long, because it gives you kind of an idea of maybe the supply dynamics and going into the future. But this is a measurement of all the open HEX stakes, right? And what their average length is. And of course, the short ones have ended, so they're not included. The long stakes are in there, and any short stakes that haven't ended are in in there. So yeah, the number is pretty high up in the 9 years. In reality, though, what we're seeing is right around 3 years on the Ethereum side and 2.5 years on the pulse chain side for the average. And neither of these are like good or bad. It's just showing how the how the numbers are calculated. But trend wise, and we saw it with Quattro Syncos. I mean, if someone's going to go long, unless they're doing a ladder, you would see them going into Quattro Synco, and we're just not getting the interest out that far, which I think for many that'll probably be an aha moment in the future. People will be like, oh man, I had that opportunity to get all this HEX, all these T-shares, and just missed out, So that's where we're at. You guys have any questions? Drop them in the chat. Peruse a couple more things before I close out for today on this stream. I see the Tam. I see the Tam. Hello, Tam. All right. Let's go. What else can we take a look at that might be useful? I think I hit all the charts I would want to get here and look at. But again, that opportunity on the whole pulse chain and HEX is just the fact that T-shares are going to become rarer for sure, and in terms of having the most HEX at the end of the game that you could have, the only way to get those is to either buy them off the market or to have stakes, and that'll pay you for those. Maybe one other thing to go look at. Let's look at our HEX ratio. Oh, pretty good. I mean, I'm just looking at one of the pairs here and how it's paying. There's a lot of activity between HEX and HEX. A lot of people do their bridging of the HEX over, put it into liquidity, or do something with it on the pulse chain side. But you can see just the native V2 pair, at least today, paying 6% in a low day. Usually I see it a little bit higher, 10% to 15%. The 9mm pool has been running 20% on the regular, I believe. But that is with some risk of impermanent loss, people picking tighter ranges. But yeah, I mean, I don't know any oddities here that stick out. I don't see anything that really jumps out at me that I'm like surprised about. The pairs are, pulsed, EDI, HEX, USDC from Ethereum, PulseX, those are all pretty high level items. A lot of liquidity up here with HEX and Coast at the moment. You'd have to go look at the position. That's 400K's worth, but have to go look at the position and see what they're trying to do. They might be just trying to accumulate HEX, or they might be using it to exit into Coast. That's a possibility. Shout out to the old Helgo out there with 4.2 million in liquidity. And PTGC, HEX. So you start getting to some of the lower pairs in volume as we go along. Probably we'll see what the fastest running one's been today. At HEX EDI at 9mm. Usually that means somebody's moving in and out of position with it. But that's 0.54 volume to liquidity ratio as reported from Dex Screener. That's pretty high. The HEX EDI on PulseX V1, wow, 0.39, almost a 0.4. So running 3-4 times the speed of pulse, against EDI. COM is there, coming up a little bit, 0.26. There's some activity with COM today. Somebody sent me a note about it dropping a 0. This is old Communist. Let's go see what it looks like chart-wise. All right, yeah, it's kind of, at least in dollars, let's go to the daily. You can see kind of a rounded out bottom here coming up a little bit. Look at my log on here. Not so round now, but yeah, it's on the daily. Let's go to weekly for see how this is going. So kind of ranging down, probably hit its bottom with everything else in March, coming up a little bit. Let's switch to HEX and see what that looks like. Okay, so not quite as drastic. Still on the weekly. Put the log on there. Yeah, it's come up against HEX. What I would expect to see with this, with the market makers, so Communis is this free token that you get for native staking of HEX, and so it is a reward token. It is, the amount that you get is based on how long you stake and how many T-shares you get. And so you have these bonuses and comp. But one of the things you do is swap it, right? Swap it for HEX. There's varying amounts of liquidity both on PHEX and also out on the other dexes that are there, including PulseX. So people swap out. So it's not really unexpected, in my mind anyway, see these, we hit a top like this, see these big dumps down because somebody's alternating. They waited until they got the best price, the price they wanted, and then alternating into, rotating into HEX, and then maybe picking some of it up at the bottom if that's what their game is, and then loading it up, or just letting the market naturally accrue the value. All right, let's take a look here in our old chat. See what else we got. Get one other comment in here from Vets. For those that are long on HEX staking yield, you get a 50% reflection mercy and stakes when they occur, and some in past history have really big emergency stakes. Yeah. So the idea being there that if you are staked, the only way to get access to the emergency end stake values, that gets distributed through emergency end stakes is by having having T-shares, right? You have to have active stakes that are running to accumulate those T-shares or to accumulate those penalties. And so penalties will come out if you either end early or end late, or if somebody good accounts after penalties have been accrued. All those situations create payouts of penalties. Half goes to the OA, the other half goes to stakers, and the OA is like an 80%, 90% staker now. So they'll get the lion's share, but the rest of the folks who have their T-shares that are staked, they'll get some of those rewards. That's how that goes. And like that's saying, if you're not staked, you're not going to get exposure to that. Well, I think that's all I have for today on the T-shares. Thanks for dropping in. I appreciate it. It's been a couple of weeks. I haven't done an update on this one, so it's good to get out here. We had my excuse is we had a couple other things going on with other streams and conferences and such, but things haven't really changed much in terms of this. Again, I think that there's still an opportunity for those who want to build staking ladders to build, and perhaps the future will show that we're right. I hope so. That's my plan. With that, everybody, you guys stay crispy, and we will see you on the next one.